Peace. This is Watch for Wise Words Media back at y'all for another round. And fight fans, I'm going to start by saying congratulations to Shakur Stevenson, who is the new WBC champion. However, this fight was extremely lackluster. Oh my goodness. Only reason I didn't even turn it off and said, you know what, forget this, is because I was actually about to get on the road. I was at work, and I said, man, I might as well complete what I started. But that fight was terrible. And the reason why it was terrible was because neither man took the opportunity to capitalize on the other man showing too much respect. We heard Edwin de los Santos. And before we even heard anything from Edwin de los Santos leading up to this fight, what we've seen from Edwin de los Santos was this reckless abandon, that he just comes in for the kill. He is a type of fighter that is very aggressive, and he lets his hands go. You know, that left hook, it put down Valenzuela a couple times. Like, he is known to be a very physical, very aggressive fighter. We seen none of that last night. None. Not only that, but Shakur Stevenson, right? So let's put it this way. Let's go back to the age-old axiom. Styles make fights, right? So we were all excited because we were going to see a style of boxer versus banger. We were going to have the guy who's the aggressive banger, who also has some skill to him, in Edwin de los Santos, versus the pure, skilled, scientific, technical fighter in Shakur Stevenson. So this clash of styles was going to be interesting to see who's going to be able to impose their style on the other. Will de los Santos come into this fight and make this a physical affair where now Shakur Stevenson has to throw punches and bunches and he has to stay in the pocket? Or is this going to be more of Shakur Stevenson imposing his will and making this a scientific fight where it's a chess match? You know, they both, changing levels and, hitting the body, hitting the head. So this was it was intriguing to see who would have their will imposed on the other opponent. However, things did not play out that way at all. What we ended up getting was two men that had a tremendous amount of respect for each other's power. Even if it wasn't power, they had a tremendous respect of what was coming in return. So de los Santos really didn't want to let his hands go because he was concerned of what was coming back. And he had to feel some sort of, like Tim Bradley alluded to this, he had to feel some degree of power coming from Shakur if he didn't say, you know what, I'm going for mine. This dude's not throwing punches. I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to be the aggressor. So he didn't do that. So it must tell you that he felt some power from Shakur and was like, all right, I got to respect this, because if I come in a little too recklessly and he catches me with something, I'm in trouble. And then the same goes for Shakur. However, Shakur's getting the brunt of this because he is the A-side. He's the bigger name, the star attraction. And he's someone who's on the trajectory to becoming a pay-per-view star. However, I do have to give Shakur this amount of credit. Shakur did stay in the pocket. It wasn't like Shakur was running around. Shakur was actually walking down Edwin de los Santos at times. The only problem was that Shakur wasn't letting his hands go. However, he was in the pocket, and at times he was backing down Edwin de los Santos. And de los Santos was on his back foot, moving backwards. So you got to give Shakur credit for that, because to a small degree, he did try to initiate some of the action by staying in the pocket, by actually walking him down, throwing jabs, walking him down, trying to see if de los Santos would let his hands go so he could counter with something. But de los Santos was not letting his hands go. So he did all that talking, all that yapping that he was gonna, that Shakur is not gonna know what to do once he gets hit, and that once he puts the pressure on Shakur Stevenson, that there's nowhere to go, there's nowhere to run. And listen, he did not let his hands go. He looked by the fourth round. I'm like, oh wait a minute, please don't tell me this is what this is gonna be, because after the first few rounds of processing, okay, but by the fourth, fifth round, you're not letting off some power? It started to feel funny by the fourth round. So, yeah, this was a completely lackluster performance. Again, Shakur's getting the brunt of the blame, but I blame both men. Like De Los Santos also deserves a lot of blame because he spoke a lot. He talked a lot. He spoke about how Shakur didn't have the power to knock him out, and how he's going to go in there and he's going to be the aggressor and he's going to bully his way through Shakur's defense. That defense don't win championships. And he was saying all of this stuff, but all he was doing was being defensive and himself, and he wasn't throwing nothing. And Shakur, who was actually in the pocket most of the fight, was the one that had to throw something because De Los Santos wasn't throwing something. But here comes Shakur's problem, because Shakur didn't capitalize on De Los Santos' respect. De Los Santos respected him too much to where he was neutralized. He didn't want to throw any punches. So at that point, Shakur should have seized the moment. Shakur should have said, okay, this dude's not throwing. Let me bang now. Let me be, in the infamous words of the great Floyd Mayweather, you got to bang the boxer and box the banger. When you got a guy that comes aggressive with an aggressive style, you got to play him like a chess match. Change levels on him. Pick your shots. Chop the tree down. One swipe at a time. One swing at a time. Chop that tree down until you got it. Then, on the other hand, you got to bang the boxer. If somebody's too technical, if somebody's, being very defensive with their guard and not letting their hands go too much, and just, you notice that what they're trying to do is mainly keep you away with the jab, now you got to bang the boxer. Now you got to be aggressive. You got to change levels. You got to hit the stomach. Jab the liver, hit the head. Come different levels, different ways of attacking, so that this way you are the one that will impose your will on your opponent. But Shakur didn't do that. Even with De Los Santos keeping his hands gloved up and not showing any type of not showing any kind of regard that he wanted to fight, pretty much. So, yeah, very lackluster performance. There's been a whirlwind of negative reviews on this fight. But, again, it's not completely Shakur's fault, man. It takes two to tango, and De Los Santos let us down because he was the one going into this fight that was billed as the guy that's aggressive, the bully, and there was none of that on display at all. So, and I just want to take another minute to say, fights like this is why you have to separate Floyd Mayweather from defensive fighters. Guys like Shakur Stevenson, who's very defensive. You can't compare what he's doing to Floyd. Floyd was a monster at this age of Shakur Stevenson. Where Shakur Stevenson is at right now in his early 20s, Floyd Mayweather was a monster. And he was knocking out everything in sight. So let's not, and then even when he became Pretty Boy, when he left Pretty Boy and he became Money Mayweather, Mayweather was in the pocket with a lot of these fighters, man. And a lot of these fights, look at that Maidana fight. Maidana just finished embarrassing Adrian Broner. Floyd stood in the pocket with him, blow for blow. Like, come on, man. We got to stop that, man. We got to really stop that. Floyd is not only a great defensive boxer, he's a great fighter, period, man. Because Floyd knocked down and knocked out a lot of opposition. And Floyd, for as much as great, his defensive expertise overshadows what he's done as an offensive fighter throughout his career. But yeah, I just want to close on saying, once again, congratulations to Shakur Stevenson. Now, let's see if, because what's very trendy in boxing is when someone comes off a poor performance, other people are more aggressive to fight them now. So let's see if this poor performance makes people say, oh, he's vulnerable, I could beat him. And they step into the ring now. Now they actually want to fight Shakur Stevenson because of this poor performance. So we'll see what happens. I'm Wise for Wise Words Media. Peace.